Welcome to Hobby Evolution episode. Where we at? 983. Happy Hump Day, Wednesday, Trash and Recycling Day. Just a few days away from the Midwest premiere. This Saturday and Sunday, Indoor Sports Center, Loves Park, Illinois, which is Rockford. Adding more and more good stuff to my bargain boxes. Got my Cubby Blue on this morning. Big win last night. Very exciting. I also, my buddy Bryan, Offbeat All-Stars was over last night, and we had kind of a rip party. And he'd been saving up like retail that he's bought over the past like 2 years. He's like, I was going to rip these on my birthday, but something came up. So I've just been saving them for a rip party. So we had a little rip party. And he turned me on to one of those illegal websites to watch sporting events. Because he's like, what are we going to watch? And I'm like, well, I don't get the Brewers because the Cubs were in a rain delay. I don't get the Brewers because I have YouTube TV, and I can't get the Cubs game in here because I haven't found the remote to my Amazon Fire Stick. So he's like, oh, go to this website. I don't want to say it because they might like come get me. So I went to this website. Works like the best one I've tried. So we had the Brewers on until the Cubs game came on, then watched the Cubs. Big win for the Cubs. We're getting into, we are in must-win territory. Big win. I think they won 14-1. Alexander Canario, grand slam. First MLB start. There's where's Mr. Canario? He is right. Which way do I go? That one right there. Boom. This one right here. That one. That is an Alexander Canario Superfractor auto from Topps Pro debut. Big grand salami last night. So 2 more against the Pirates at Wrigley, 3 against the Rockies at Wrigley. And then end the season on a tough battle at Atlanta for 3 down in Georgia, and then 3 up in Milwaukee at Wrigley North. So going to be a tough week to end the season. And I want to, because I want to be real, because when they're losing all these games, I'm like, well, see, this is the Cubs they always were. But I don't want to get caught in when they're winning, oh, hey. So I want to be real here. Even though the big win against the Pirates last night, we're happy. Cubs win. I think we're back tied for the second wild card spot. I think we're tied with the Diamondbacks, but they do have like every team owns the tiebreaker against the Cubs, which sucks, except for one team. I can't remember which team that is. But I want to be real here. Wild card standings. Okay, so Philadelphia lost. Thank you, Atlanta. The Braves beat the Phillies last night. So, the Diamondbacks are still in that second wild card spot. They must have had a late game last night. So, Phillies are in the first wild card spot. Arizona is in the second wild card spot by a half game over the Cubs. The Cubs are in sole possession of the third wild card spot, but the Marlins and Reds nipping on the heels. Marlins a half game out, Reds 1 game out. So next 11 games, very, very important. However, I still think the Cubs are going to limp in these final 11 games. So I think realistically, in these last 11 games, the Cubs are going to go either 5-6 or 6-5. I think they're going to go 5-6 the rest of the way out. I think they'll split the next 2 against the Pirates. They'll win 2 out of 3 against the Rockies. And then they'll win 2 games next week. They'll win 2 out of 6 games against the Braves and Brewers. So I know that sounds, well, just look what they did against the Rockies last week and the Diamondbacks. You know, the Cubs aren't a team that's going to beat the Pirates every night 14-1, but they're also not a team that's going to go 2-8 against the Rockies and the Diamondbacks. Well, they might against the Diamondbacks. So I got to keep it real. There's going to be more stresses in these next 11 games. There's going to be some losses. There's going to be a loss against the Pirates. I think they're going to take 2 out of 3 against Pittsburgh. They got 1. Split the next 2, and people are going to want to set fire to Wrigley Field. You got to win these games. Blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, had a rip party last night. Drank a few beers, watched a little baseball. It's depressing how little is in retail boxes. My goodness. Very depressing. So I want to talk about that. We're probably going to get interrupted in the next 15 minutes because that's what we do around here at the new house. We get interrupted. So I think who's coming this? I think the plumbers are coming. They have to install 1 or 2 of our faucets not working correctly. So I think our screen porch finally got finished yesterday for the most part. Electricians were here yesterday. We've been here 2 months and we've still got people all over. So electricians were here yesterday. They'll be back today. They've got to put the lamp post thing out front. And then they were here for the screen porch also, getting that worked on. So doorbell's probably going to ring, Biscuit's going to bark, and I'll have to run upstairs. So what's going on in the chat? George is here. What's up, George? Good evening to you. Dorky Anglers in the house. Good morning. David, what's happening? Steve's in the house. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. A big Cubs win. 11 to go. 11 games to go. Great Cubs win, says Victor. Go Cubs, go. Talking Tatis in the house. Happy Wednesday. Good evening, Dan. What's happening? It is trash and recycling day. Hit it, get them to the curb. Got mine to the curb last night. They're full, both of them full. You know, we've got a lot of shit in around that needs to be thrown out when my wife says, I don't care if you put it in the recycle bin. We've been together for 10 years. Almost 10 years, 9 years. Been together 9 years, and she's never said that until recently. You can throw recycling in the trash. What? I get a hall pass to throw the recycling in the trash bin this week? I'll drink to that. So I've been throwing recyclables in the trash. I feel so dirty. Good morning, T206 kid. What's happening? Dorky Angler. You betcha. That's what I'm here for. Remind you to take the trash out. It is Wednesday. I almost forgot it was Wednesday. What the hell day is it? The hell day is it? Good morning, Kyle. The epic number 1,000 is going to be here in no time. We're at 983. I can't believe it. 983, episode 1,000. Coming up on Tuesday, October 10th or Wednesday, October 11th. One of those days. I can't remember. Tip of the Mid Collectibles. Good morning. I love his thing. I'd rather be at the ball game. Not going to make it to a single Cubs game this year. Unless they make the playoffs, then I'm going to attempt to go to a Cubs game, playoff game. Bryan, good morning. Today is his 9-year wedding anniversary. I think I'll buy some wax. It is. I'm pretty sure 9 years is the wax anniversary. That's the baseball card anniversary. Absolutely. Happy anniversary to Bryan and his wife. 9 years. We're coming up, my wife and I are coming up on 9 years of dating. We just celebrated our 6th wedding anniversary. 6. Yeah. And then we were together for three years. 6 plus 3 equals 9. Happy Hump Day. Grinding for Good is here. Dorky Angler says, congrats, Bryan. Good luck in your rip. We've got Cooter in the house. Good morning, Cooter. Carlo does vintage. Good morning. Have a 1982 O-Pee-Chee coffee that came back PSA 10. Immediately listed, but are we too early for hockey? What are your thoughts on seasonality? I don't know anything about hockey, but I will tell you my thoughts on seasonality is sell before the preseason. Like baseball peaks in like January, February. So just ahead of preseason. Same with football. I see a peak in football around spring training camp, summer training camp. So you're looking at August. I see August. That's personally at card shows. I'm selling a ton of football in August. Baseball, like I have baseball. I sell baseball at card shows year round. I don't have like all of a sudden in February people are grabbing baseball. But on eBay, I definitely start seeing my sales hit that uptick in January, February, specifically on baseball. So I don't know when hockey starts. I assume it's starting pretty soon. Doesn't it start around the same time as the NBA? So I think for hockey, probably similar line with NBA basketball. Probably if it starts in November, you're looking at September, October, which is right now. So yeah, probably a good time to list it. The thing though with seasonality, oh man, my back. The thing with it doesn't affect something like Paul Coffey as much. Yeah, you're gonna see a spike in season and in more so than the off season, but I see less of I see the off season less so for retired players than current, like baseball prospects. I'll still sell baseball in November, December into January, but it's going to be probably more of the legends, retired players, Hall of Famers, or like your Trouts, Otanis, and that type of player. Whereas your Bowman prospects ain't moving unless you're putting them at auction and you're selling them for pennies on the dollar. So that's kind of my thoughts on seasonality. Bryan, thanks, Dorky Angler. Good morning, Harlan. What's happening? Harlan in the house? Steve says in some parts of the country, you can tell the temperatures are changing when the leaves change colors. In Arizona, you can tell the temperatures are changing when the Chase Field roof is open. I love it. We've got changing colors here. That tree that you can't see, getting very colorful. Lots of shades of reds and purples. Turning, it's funny because the trees over here are like green, bright green, but that one tree already turning into reds and purples. Uncle Rich, good morning. Good. I always read, and I want to say, good morning. Sal Dougie, what's up? Good morning. Andy Mack is here. What's happening? Donald Davis, what's going on? Good morning to you. Steve Ains Comedy's in the house. Red Light 34, good morning. Merle, what's happening? Johnny M's in the house. I see Allen and Ginter singles are starting to pop on eBay. Yeah. Yes, they are. So I think release day's Friday. So Tuesday, they were already out. So I'm starting. See, I would have ordered mine from Blowout, which I would have received Friday. I didn't order any. I wish I could, but it just wasn't feasible with the card show this weekend. Being away Saturday, Sunday, it would have been too much of a rush to rip and flip on Friday. Was also dependent. What if they're a day late? What if they don't come until Saturday? Now I'm not opening until Sunday night. So I'm already a few days behind and several days behind because they're already popping on eBay. So I think it was a very good decision that I passed on Allen and Ginter. If singles are already popping on eBay Tuesday and I wouldn't have received mine until Friday, probably wouldn't even have been able to list until Sunday night, Monday, way behind already, like almost a week behind already. So I'm glad I passed on Allen and Ginter, but it's one of those things. It's like, man, I really wish I could make it work, but I can't. Some things are out of our control. Steve, what's up? If the Cubs finish in the third wildcard spot, they'll go to Milwaukee for the playoffs. You'll have options then. I don't want to go to Milwaukee. I don't want to go to Milwaukee. I probably wouldn't go. Miller Park is not much closer to me than Wrigley. Wrigley's about a little over 2 hours. Miller Park's about an hour and a half. So it's a horse apiece. But here's the thing. I've never been to a Cubs playoff game. I can't. This would be like the curse of the Billy Goat. It's the curse of Milwaukee. If I went to a Cubs playoff game, it's got to be at Wrigley Field. I'm not going to go to Milwaukee for a Cubs playoff game. It just doesn't seem right. I have to lose my Cubs playoff virginity at Wrigley Field. Can't do it in Milwaukee. Jonathan, what's up? Good morning. Rich says that is a vintage card for these purposes, so it's not a seasonal thing, unlike active players. Absolutely. You still do see a pop on retired players, but it's not as, like I mentioned, it's not as much. There's a light pop. Like, I'm starting to move more like Joe Montana cards now than when I was in June. But it's not really, it doesn't affect it as much. You betcha. James says Alexander Canario. Hell yeah. Northern Michigan changing colors a bit up here. Oh, I bet it's changed. I bet you're getting very colorful up north. Volume accumulation. Good morning. Carlo does vintage. Shakti mat for the back pain. Best $50 I ever spent. What's that? I'm getting like the bet. It's like, oh. What really helps is this hardwood floor. And just laying down on this hardwood floor, oh, it feels so good. You would think like, oh my God, doesn't that hurt? But no, it feels good. It feels so good. Johnny M says, I did order from Blowout. Haven't been notified that they shipped yet. Oh, that sucks. So today's Wednesday. So I think they'll ship on release day. And depending on where you're at, are you close to Blowout? They might not ship yours until you might be 1 day shipping. So they basically take the region where you're at. So they ship it so you get it on the official release day, which is great. Which is all, the best they can do. It just sucks that other people get them early, and put them on eBay. But it is what it is. So I'm guessing you'll receive your shipping notification today, and you'll receive it Friday. Or you'll get your shipping notification tomorrow and receive it Friday, depending on where you live. Herman's in the house. What's up? Long time, Herman. Good morning. Zach and Porter are here. What's happening? Sal Dougie says the curse of Milwaukee. Love it. You shouldn't. Well, yeah, you should, Brewer fan. Curse of Milwaukee. Donald says, I see SGC change the grading rates to $15 a card in like 10 to 15 day turnaround time. I might send some cards in to get graded. I love SGC. I never was, because I've never been like a grading person. But now that I have and I've never put them on, like when I get graded cards, like I have a ton, 40 of them in there. But when I haven't until that case displayed them. And now it's like, I got a Beckett in there, PSA in there. It's like, I just want uniformity. And people always say, well, I just ended up going with PSA because of uniformity, or I went with this company because of uniformity. Now I'm kind of in that boat. It's like, yeah, all SGC would look nice in there. But I do love SGC. I just think they look way nicer than any other of the slabs that are out there. I will be submitting more. It's been a while since I've done any. It's been almost a year, I think, since I went like 4 or 5 subs for my pre-war Cubs. I've since attained a few more raw pre-war tobacco cards that I want to get subbed. And then I've got a bunch of like other like early vintage cards between pre-war and because it depends on which war you use. Between, let's just say, between tobacco and vintage, we've got some early we'll call that early vintage. Cards from like the some like strip cards, cabinet cards from the 20s, 30s, some oddball stuff from the 40s and 50s. And then I've got some Ernie Banks that I'd like to have like the run of Ernie Banks in SGC. I got the rookie, started with the rookie, so might as well keep going. Herman took a week of vacation to get some things done around the house and ended up getting sick yesterday. Isn't that how that works? Oh, that sucks. Or you get sick like right for the weekend, which is okay. So you don't have to take time off work. The older you get, the more you appreciate getting sick on the weekend. Where back when you're in school, it's like, oh my God, I'm sick on the weekend. It was hell. You want to get sick on like Monday to take full advantage of any missed days. Now you're an adult. It's like, I don't want to waste any sick days, especially if your sick days are pooled in with like paid time off. If you don't have, the last job I worked, our company, when I first started, we had sick time and we had like 2 personal days a year. We had a week of sick time and like 2 weeks vacation. My first boss there was like an asshole. He was like the drill sergeant, like old school. You don't take sick days. He didn't talk like that at all. But it was like you felt guilty for taking a sick day. And he even like mentioned like one of our sales meetings, he's like, you can still come to work if you have a cough. It's like, okay. Get you sick, you old bastard. So then a few years later, the company instituted like paid time off. So then you get all these days off, which is nice. But then you also, guess what? And I think the strategy behind that from like an HR perspective is our sick days was use them or lose them. So you had 5 days. You had to take those days off or you lost them. And then you have an old curmudgeon as a boss who like threatens you and, punishes you for taking sick time. You feel guilty for taking it. So then all of a sudden you've got people taking sick days left and right in December, right? You got to use them or lose them. So I think the company noticed, hey, we're losing a ton of employees in December to sick time. So then they pooled sick time. They just rolled it into PTO. Now all of a sudden, nobody's taking sick. There's a lot less sick time being taken because people don't want to, like, hey, I'm going to take a 2-week vacation to Europe now. And, I have the time. I'm going to take, a couple Fridays off in the summer just to go to a Cubs game because I've got that extra time. Because that's what sucks about sick time. If you have to use your sick time, you're going to use it. You don't want to use it on like a hot summer day. Like, hey, after I'd worked there for a while, it's like, I don't give a fuck. I'm taking a sick day, right? I'm mentally ill today. I'm going to take a sick day. So sick time, pulled it all in. I don't know. Why did we start? Oh, because Herman got sick. Herman, hope you're feeling better. Or did you just get sick? He got sick yesterday. Johnny's in New York. Usually get stuff in 2 days. So you'll probably get your shipping notification today. I'm surprised they had, because usually Blowout does the ship, like they print the label ahead of time and they don't actually ship it, or it's not picked up until like today. But maybe they're just doing it all in one foul swoop today. I would anticipate you receiving your shipping notification today and it's delivered to you on Friday. Sal Dougie says we should also take a moment to acknowledge the Cardinals getting officially eliminated from playoff contention. I'll drink to that. Yeah. However, I want I'm rooting for the Cardinals. Like, we had the Brewers-Cardinals game on last night. So thank you for that, Milwaukee. Now the Cardinals need to beat the Brewers the next 2 games. But it's like my buddy Bryan, who was over last night, he's a Brewers fan. And he's like, yes. And I know when he goes, yes, I got to go, no. Had the Cardinals win. It's very frustrating leaning on the Cardinals to help you out. But desperate times call for desperate measures. Rooting for the Cardinals is a desperate measure. Go Cubs, go. Anything more Cub than scoring all those runs last night, and they just need a couple runs the nights before. That's total Cub. That's total Cub. Lose 1-run ball games, 2-1, 1-0, 3-4, 4-3, 3-2, and then all of a sudden beat the Pirates 14-1. Bryan says, amen. Rip Redbirds. Mark Marinello's in the house. Top of the morning to you. Enjoying my coffee in my new Mets mug, watching Hobby Evolution. I'll drink to that. Cheers. Royals 417. What's happening? Good morning to you. I will do my part again. I'll teach during the day and sell beverages at night. Go Cubs, go. Yes. Herman says, thanks. Amen. I can't stand making sub plans. Oh, yeah. Herman, I hope you were on the mend and it wasn't stomach. Stomach is not fun. Uncle Rich says, have a great day, everyone. By the way, I prefer PTO to sick days, days off, personal days, etc. Absolutely. Easier as an employee as well. And Herman, get better. Thank you, Uncle Rich. Mark says, my company always knew I'd use my, quote, sick days for the Mets home openers or the day after the Super Bowl to recover from the crap I ate. Yes. It's funny how many sick days there are on the Monday after the Super Bowl or on opening day for baseball. Or on that first warm, if you're in the upper Midwest, that first warm day, warm Friday in March or April. Rich says to Mark, and there are some companies who will counsel you or even penalize you if you take a sick day after the Super Bowl. Dorky Angler says, crap you ate or the crap you drank. For me, it's both. For me, it's both. Bucky Bob, what's up? This weekend, will you be rooting for the Brewers to beat the Marlins? Question mark. That's a great question. It depends how the standings look. Probably rooting for the Marlins because I do want that last series between the Cubs and Brewers to mean something. But the Marlins are nipping on the heels of the Cubs. So it's going to be tough. Right now, I would say I want it all depends how the Cubs perform these next few games. Ideally, I want the Marlins to win, but I may have to root for the Brewers in case the Marlins, if the Cubs lose 2 games and the Marlins win 2 games, then it's like, shit, we just need a playoff spot. So in that event, right now, I don't know. It just all depends how the next 2 days play out. And then we'll see. Come back to me on, the whole day is it? Wednesday. Come back to me on Friday. Herman says, no, Zach, it seems to be everything but headache, body ache. Oh. Overall, no energy. That sucks. Bummer. Mark says both. So it's depressing. It's 7:40 and we haven't had the doorbell ring yet. That's good. Uninterrupted. I figured like 30 minutes in, you never know with these people. You never know. Sometimes they show up. Some show up like 15 minutes early. Yep, nobody's here yet. Okay. So last night, Herman says, I feel like the Braves gave the Marlins their last series to make things more interesting. Oh, yeah. These next 11 games for many teams going to be interesting. Victor says, Herman, get better. I was feeling that way a couple weeks ago. Bummer. It's the beginning of crud season. The weather's changing. Well, Herman's in Georgia. Is the weather changing down there? Up here, we're starting to get a little colder. I'm going to start getting crud. Big card show this weekend. There's probably going to be some crud. Kids are back in school. Snotty-nosed kids coming home, wiping their snot on their arms, coughing and ugh. So last night, we did some rips. My buddy Bryan came over, had like a mountain of retail that he's been accumulating over the last 2 years. And first box he opened was like a blaster of Tops, whatever year they did the through the years inserts. And he pulls the Mike Trout through the years, you know, the one that everybody thought was like a real autograph. And he's like, this card actually sells on eBay. I'm like, yeah, just make sure you clearly put through the 2021 Tops through the years, so there's no like funny business. And it still sells for like, I think one sold for like $30. What the hell? I'm like, well, if the last one sold for 30, just list it 30 your best offer and see what you do. And he's like, this is probably the best card I'll get. And guess what? It was. Out of all that, he pulled one auto, and it was a Heriberto Hernandez from Bowman, one of the Bowman mega boxes. And there's one listed on eBay. Buy it now for $4. It gets $3.99 free shipping. It's like your best auto is $4. He pulled a Roger Maris short print. That's like a $5 card. What else was the Joey Votto Heritage Chrome Refractor? It's like a $5 card. But that was about it. I did not have much wax to rip because I ripped most of it around last Christmas, Couch People Christmas party, and then which I only ended up ripping. I had so much, if you remember that. So I had mostly basketball left just because it's basketball. Basketball sucks. Bryan actually pulled a LeBron, and he's like, here, because I've got a guy that buys LeBrons. I think he pays like, I can't remember, 50 or 75 cents. So I'm like, hey. So I pulled another LeBron. That was out of Hoops winter box. So I had 3 basketball blasters, NBA Hoops winter box, a Bowman U basketball, and a Topps Chrome Overtime Elite. That was a garbage box, which I've opened some of those, and they've been really good. And then I pulled my last 2021 Heritage Miners box, and then a 2020 Topps Update Hobby box. So in the Bowman U box, and I also pulled this is like a $5 card, the Slam insert for Luka out of Hoops. But I did pull the Bowman U box, was actually pretty fire. A Johnny Juzang gold refractor, numbered out of 50. So I think that goes for 10 to 15. And then I pulled a yellow auto out of my Bowman U basketball box. I don't know who Jaden Shackelford is, but I'm like, hey, that's got to be something. It's like a $5 card, maybe 10 if I'm lucky. I got to look up who the hell Jaden Shackelford is. So that was a damn good box. Heritage Miners, I pulled an Evan Carter autograph, so that's good. I think this is probably a $20, $25 card. Then I pulled a Matthew Liberatore, just a blue, numbered out of 99. I get a couple bucks for that. Topps Update, there was a Mike Schmidt insert, numbered out of 299. Only reason I could tell was on the back it says out of 299. The other auto in Heritage Miners, I did pull 2 colors, and I pulled a green Hudson Haskin. Greens are out of 75. And then Justin Lang auto, which I think that's a $5 auto. And then out of the 2020 Topps Update, like Derek Jeter, my guy that buys LeBrons, buys Jeter. I think he pays 50 cents. So there was a couple Jeters. That's like $1.50 in Jeters. And then he buys Acuna's and Trout. So there was a bunch of Acuna, Mike Trout. So there were, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 Trouts in there, 3 Jeters, 1, 2 Acuna's, and 3 Aaron Judge. And a couple Bo Bichette rookies. He buys Bo Bichette's also, but I'm going to sell those on eBay for a couple bucks. So I did okay for my boxes. Bryan's boxes were pretty bad. Bryan says, eat your oranges, vitamin C. There you go. Dorky Angler says, the guy who bought 39 of my Heritage Chrome refractors emailed me a 14-page long list of the stuff he needs to finish other sets. I thought that was cool. Lots of stuff to look out for. That is cool. Very cool. TD Sports Cards in the house. Good morning. Oh, we're only 35 minutes in. Plumbers still aren't here. That's good. I don't really have anything else kind of going short this week. I just don't have much to talk about. I do have many things that I want to talk about, that just random questions that come about either on the Hobby Evolution Facebook group or people that email me or reach out to me on Twitter. Oh, there was something on Twitter that I wanted to bring up. There was something yesterday, but I want to save that for like its own video because I don't want it to be buried in me talking about the leaves changing colors and the pizza I had last night. So I'll save that for a separate video. Because there's actually been a couple things that's come up at the time. That would make a good video, but a good like focused video, not, hey, squirrel, there's an hour of content, but I want to hear you talk about this 2-minute thing. So there was something on Twitter. Let me bring it up. Oh, this damn cord's in the way. Twitter. Shit, if I can find it. Hopefully it brings it up. Oh, and I think it was this. Okay. Hobby question. TV Guy Card says, present, share screen, Twitter. There we go. Can you see that? Let's just make it full screen. So TV Guy Card says, a hobby question. How do you guys keep up with prospects? I'm dead serious. There's so many of them and so many cards. I'm watching Jabs rip Bowman Chrome HTA boxes and am overwhelmed. I've never in my life even heard of Feldon, Celestine. Hey, me neither. LOL, do you all keep running a spreadsheet? I'm just completely lost. Looking forward to reading the replies in the morning when I wake up. So the thing about prospecting is there's so many ways to go about it. Surface level, you can just follow people that are really good at prospecting. First, you have to you have to kind of get to know who those people are and just kind of ride on their coattails. I learn a lot about prospecting through the blowout forums. Believe it or not, I know a lot of people want to stay far away from the blowout forums, but you can learn a lot from the blowout forums. Just ignore a lot of the noise. So that's one strategy. Just follow people that do it. Another strategy is doing a lot of the dirty work yourself. Get a subscription to Baseball America, The Athletic, read prospect reports. Start to identify, just consume as much as you can. Start to identify what are some of the accolades that people look for when prospecting. And before you start prospecting, my number one piece of advice, never hold. That's the biggest mistake prospectors can do. That's what makes prospectors fail, is holding. Because when the non-prospect group come along and say, oh, prospect, you're going to pay this much for this guy? He's only 17. And they say, look, remember Kevin Moss? Remember Bryan Taylor? Prospecting. So, yeah, 30 years later, you look dumb if you held on to all your Greg Jeffries and Kevin Moss and Bryan Taylor. But a lot of people made a lot of money on those guys. And that's what prospecting is all about. You have to flip. You have to buy low, sell high. Easier said than done. You've got to figure out, who you're going to buy, when you're going to buy them, at what price you're going to buy them. And then at some point, they're going to get hot. Everybody gets hot in the minor leagues for the most part that have cards. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you may buy $1 card and it may be worth $100 when the prospect peaks. But sometimes it might only go up to $2. And sometimes your margins are going to be small. And the mistake people make is, well, I don't want to only make 50 cents on this card or $1 on these cards. I want to make $5. I'm going to just hold. When they could have made a small margin, say they could have made $5 or $10, they're holding out to make 100, and it never happens. So now they're out the $5 plus the investment. So that's my big piece of advice on when it comes to prospecting. Don't hold, because there's only one Mike Trout. Even Ellie De La Cruz, look at how his cards have dropped in price. Fortunately, the low end Ellie De La Cruz are still higher than what they were 6 months ago. I'm still moving Ellie De La Cruz, and they're still actually moving really fast too, and he's struggling. But come off season, Ellie De La Cruz is going to tank. So that's my piece of advice. My biggest piece of advice when it comes to prospecting is don't hold. Learn when to buy low and sell not high, but sell for profit. I guess buy low, sell high doesn't really work for prospecting. It's buy low, sell for higher, just to where you can make some profits. And then you got to build that. You got to build wealth. And it doesn't come overnight. So that's my thought. I saw that and I'm like, I've got some words I want to say about that. Dan packed up some Japanese figures I displayed that I want to sell. Very nice. You can talk about the new TCG grading company. Is that like Pokemon? Flawed Thinkers in the house. Good morning. TD Sports Card says prospecting is hard. A lot of guys top out at AA. It can be. It can be. It can also be really easy. If you're okay with small margins. If you're okay with small margins, wins are wins. $1 profit is $1 profit. And you're not going to hit a home run on every prospect. So what you want to avoid is spending $100 on a guy and it never goes over $100 and you lose money. So it can be easy. There's usually a peak for every player. And it's all about timing. And trying to find that right time is very critical. And that part is not easy. I'm going to flip the Wemby ASAP. Thanks for the tip. Absolutely. Victor Wembanyama, the more cards that come out of Victor Wembanyama, the less others are worth, especially the SI for kids. You're already starting to see a decline on that SI for kids as we approach basketball season because other products are going to be coming out. You're speaking like Roth cards. He's all about moving cards, doesn't like to hold cards for more than 2 weeks. Now, that's a little extreme. I'm not that bad when it comes to not holding. I'll hold on. Esteri Ruiz was a guy that I kind of happened upon prospecting by accident. And you're like, Esteri Ruiz, why would you prospect him? So I had a bunch of Panini points. And I went in and Esteri Ruiz had Elite Extra Edition autos for like 100 points or 400 points, whatever they were. So I'm like, there's nothing else. There's no Cubs that I want to spend my points on. I'm just going to go all in on these points. It's kind of like found money at this point for these Panini points. So I ended up buying like 25 with my Panini points, like 25 Esteri Ruiz. Somewhere's low numbered is like 25. Just had a ton of them. And I'm like, I'm just going to sit on this. He was still young at that time. I'm just going to sit on him. All of a sudden, he's like setting records on stolen bases, which, by the way, is not a good stat to prospect on. You want those home runs. But Esteri Ruiz, all of a sudden, boom, hey, he's getting called up. And just before the call, I went through and I sold all my Esteri Ruiz. And, I could have moved him for a few bucks early on. But that hype, sell the hype. And I was moving them for like the base were selling for like $10. And then I think some of the serial numbers sold for as high as 40, like the of 25s. So, I ended up making a few $100 on Esteri Ruiz on basically found money. Anything that Panini puts into their points program, which I don't even know if they do anymore, but it's like garbage. But sometimes and that was just by luck. I saw Esteri Ruiz and I looked up his stats. I'm like, he's still young. And he might turn into, he might put some muscle on that frame, add some home runs. One thing to look for in young guys is doubles. If they hit a lot of doubles, when they're young and not fully mature, if they build muscle, those could turn into home runs. That's kind of one of the little attributes people look for in prospecting. TCG is Pokemon, Magic, etc. Aha. I have no idea what any of that stuff is all about. Merle says, so if we get a Babe Ruth or Roberto Clemente first, Bowman, we should sell. What if I have a hunch they may become Hall of Famers? But G. John Sports, what's up? I have a customer who says he didn't receive a card. Tracking says delivered. If I just refund, can I get a credit from eBay? My first question would be, is it through the eBay standard envelope or is it through Ground Advantage or Priority Mail? If it's through eBay standard envelope, it depends on when it was marked delivered. If it was marked delivered yesterday and he reached out and said, hey, it said it was delivered at 10 a.m. I don't have anything in my mailbox. Tell him to wait a couple days, explain what the eBay standard envelope system is, wait a few days. If it still hasn't shown up, have him open a non-received claim, refund the money, and then file the claim through eBay insurance. If it's ground package, it's a little trickier because there's no insurance, but well, there is through the USPS, which is much more difficult to navigate. But I'm assuming it's through the eBay standard envelope. If it's not, if it's through Ground Advantage, have him open a claim depending on the value of it. If it's like $100 or $50 or hell, even $20, I would just put the tracking in to eBay. And sometimes eBay will side with both parties. They will refund the buyer, but they won't take it out of your money. Like eBay will actually fund the refund. So I've had that happen. So I guess it all kind of depends on where it was. I'm assuming it's through eBay standard envelope, even though I know assuming what it does. But that would be my advice. Max says Roth is just a hype guy. I wouldn't want to sit on most of the crap he is buying, though, either. Desmond Ridder and Sam Howell. Yeah, no thanks. See, and I'm selling the hype on Desmond Ridder and Sam Howell. I would sell those two guys. But I'm okay with small margins. It's what I built my business around. Small margins and volume. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with taking a profit on anything. Yeah, sometimes we look back and it's like, maybe I should have held on to it. But sometimes, a lot of times, when you hold on to things, they lose value and you lose money, and that's not a good business plan. Looking at his picture, I have no idea why he is called Babe, right? Looks like a pitcher. I guess I shouldn't invest in pitchers, though. He will probably blow out his arm. Brian says, wouldn't holding wax be better than prospecting? No. Well, I think, I don't know. It depends. It kind of depends on holding wax is about a big of gamble as prospecting. If you know what you're doing, they're both the same. If you don't know what you're doing, they're both the same. If you sit on a box or a case of Top Series 1, that's a terrible idea because it's only going to go down after it depreciates. Is it going to be worth more than what's inside? Maybe. It depends on what product it is. Some of the Bowman, and of course this is still kind of in that we're still coming out of like a weird COVID boom time. But in 2021, I bought a few boxes of Bowman Chrome. I think I bought 3 boxes. I opened 2 and I kept one. I'm like, I'm going to keep this sealed because Bowman always goes up. Wrong. I think I paid $300 or $350 for that box. Last year, around this time last year, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to hang on to this anymore. I'm just going to liquidate. It depreciated. Bowman. And a year later, those boxes were selling for like $250. So I ended up ripping, and I think I probably pulled less than $100, maybe $100 worth of cards out of it. So maybe I should have just taken the loss. Sometimes sealed wax is not, holding wax is not better than prospecting. I would certainly not hold retail wax, because that, I think we're back in the pre-COVID where, there's going to be, there already are discount boxes on sealed retail. So holding wax, I wouldn't say it's better than prospecting. I say it's the same. Holding wax, prospecting on wax, sealed wax is about the same as prospecting. You can certainly win big. You can certainly lose big. It's just kind of, if you know what you're doing, absolutely, it can be better. Max says he is putting over $1,000 down per card on most of the stuff. Yeah, if you're putting a lot of capital in something, then yeah, you want to really be in and out. Absolutely. Max says wax isn't a terrible investment either. Mental health days off are necessary. All wax needs is one guy. All wax needs is one guy. That's true. Collector's Dream, what's up? Good morning. COVID wax, not a good example. Careful there. Bowman does almost always go up. There are some exceptions. 2015 Bowman is garbage. I think it's 08 is garbage. But a lot of the modern-ish Bowman is certainly much better. TD Sports Cards, why would you hold, let's say, a $1,000 case for 5 years to make $200? If you grind, you can turn the 1K into 5K over those 5 years. I think some people are going for the home run. Topps Update 2018. I bought on sale, and this is an extreme example. This is like not Topps Up. This is like the one Topps Update that actually exploded in value. That was, I turned my $400 investment in November of 2021. I flipped it for $1,700 about 6 months later. Now here we are 5 years later, or this was 2018. So 2018, 6 months. Yeah. So into 2019. So 2018. So now here we are 5 years later. It's like $5,000. So that would be, something worthy, but typically if you're doing it right, you're looking for more than $200 margin on like wax like that. You're looking for $1,000 case to turn into $3,000 or $4,000 a few years down the road. I thought Topps Heritage Miners was going to be a good hold product for sealed wax, because we started to see, and again, we're clouded by COVID for a couple of years with the hobby boom. Topps Heritage Miners 2000, what year was it? But there's some Topps Heritage Miners that let's check out DealerNet. Again. Let's go back. So like 2000, they probably don't even have any on sale. Let's just go back to 2017 because there's probably some on sale or some available for sale. 2017 Topps Heritage Miners, $175 for a hobby box of 2017. Those were like $40, $45, $50 at release. So multiply that out by 12. It'd be, over 6 years though. So do you want to put up $500, $1,000 to make? Well, actually, that would be a good return. I would totally do that. Max says to TD, why do some folks buy a bond or a blue chip stock versus a tech mutual fund or a ground floor company? There you go. Sometimes you just want to stuff money somewhere. Let's see. I have Topps, Donruss, and Fleer wax boxes, 81 to 85. Going to sit on those babies. I feel they would only increase in value. Who am I kidding? I'm never selling them. Vintage wax? Definitely. Friend of mine has a 75 Topps mini sealed box and trying to sell it at the National this year. Didn't find any takers. And, I'm like, just if you want the money now, you're going to have to take less. Like here's what it's selling for. There were a couple examples on the floor. You're probably not going to find a buyer at that price. If they're still sitting, here, means nobody's buying them at that price. So realistically, here's what if you want cash now, here's about the price. If you don't need the cash now, just wait. If you don't need that cash, just sit on it because it's going to go up. It may take a few years, but it should go up. But a lot of current wax, and when I'm saying like I don't know about current wax, especially when it comes to like Topps flagship, I wouldn't hold any of that because the margins are going to be so small on that stuff. It's going to take a long time for small margins on a Topps flagship. Bowman is a good hold, but you're also outlaying $200-$300 a hobby box, and it's going to take a few years. And there's a chance that those don't really go up that much. Yeah, there's a chance that they do. There's a chance that they don't. But it could be like my example. And I think, I wonder what Bowman Chrome, and it's still pretty early on, like Bowman Chrome, because Bowman Chrome's a lot of like super young international prospects. So Bowman Chrome, oh my God. It's even worse. It's gotten worse. This can't be right. Oh my God. So Bowman Chrome, I paid $300 for my hobby box. I decided not to sell last year, a year later, because they were only selling for $250. I ended up ripping it. Guess what they sell for on DealerNet today? $165. So that's maybe somebody breaks out in the next year or two. There's still a chance of that happening. But if there's not a breakout player in that product, then that 165 is probably going to stay around that price point. Let's see. Where we at? Let's see. Talking about investing in wax. Max says, in my opinion, most people putting money into sealed wax aren't looking to make 4% annually. There you go. All righty. So I'm going to wrap things up. Hey, we did not get interrupted by the plumber. That's good. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. This weekend, I'll be at the Indoor Sports Center in Loves Park, just outside of Rockford, just next to Rockford, for the Midwest premiere. Over 200 tables. I'll have 25-cent boxes. I'll have dollar boxes. I'll have binders like the baseball card album binders. I'll have card dividers, top loaders, card savers. What else am I bringing? I've got blowout bargain boxes where an entire 4-row quarter box is going to be just $50. That's on select boxes. Those are cherry picked. That's why they're cheap. I think that's all I'm bringing. So I'll have all that. I'm reloading everything. And if you weren't at the St. Charles show, which probably most of the people, a lot of the people weren't, that'll be at this show, you'll see a whole bunch of new stuff. Because not only am I bringing those boxes that were new and only seen at that one show, but also all brand new boxes that haven't been seen at any shows, at least at my table. So this weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Midwest premiere, Indoor Sports Center, Loves Park. Madison shows the following weekend, which reminds me, I got to fire up. It's Wednesday, so I need to fire up the advertisement for the Madison Card Show, Saturday, September 30th. Sheraton Hotel, John Nolan Drive, sold out show, 125 dealer tables, free admission. Show runs 9 to 3. Early birds are welcome. Hit up my eBay store, 99centcards.com. Link also in the description. I did add some like autos in color to my store yesterday, so check those out. Some went really fast, so it means I probably underpriced them. A lot of these I don't check comps. I know what I have. I know what I have into them, and I know what I'm willing. Well, make a few bucks on this. I'm cool with that. So check that out. eBay link in the description, or just type in 99centcards.com. And finally, Dan says, how was the St. Charles show? I have not seen that review. I do have a review, so check that out. I do have a St. Charles card show review. It was a great show. Really good show. I was hammered with people. I think I had between 7 and I think the most people I had at my table was 14. I had kind of a horseshoe setup. So I think I had between 7 and 14 people at my table, like the duration of the show. Like from show started at 9, from like 9:30 to like 1 o'clock. I had between 7 and 14 people at my table at all times. So it was a great show. I will definitely go back. Sometimes those, like Schaumburg, I had a really terrible show, and I just don't know if I want to go back. I don't want to repeat that performance. St. Charles, I'm willing to take the risk of a bad show because I had such a good show a few weeks ago at the Kane County Fairgrounds. So I think the next show there is in December. So obviously Northern Illinois, Southern Wisconsin weather will dictate whether or not that trip happens. But hopefully I can make it down there for that show. But it was an awesome show. Check out the video. I think it's like the Kane County Fairgrounds card show review or something like that. That was a Sunday show, so it would have been the Monday following. Let's see. Collector's Dream says, over the years, I've sold most of my modern cards, buying mostly vintage now. Dan says, did anyone recognize you? I had a few people like say they watched my YouTube videos, saw me on the Carded show. Hey, by the way, Ethan is on Carded. Ethan Roberts, our Cubs friend. So he's on Carded showing off his collection. They actually filmed that like during spring training. So, but it's kind of evergreen content. So they released it this week. So check that out. I think it's on. You can watch it on the MLB.com website. That's how I found it. So check that out. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. We'll be back live again tomorrow morning, probably 7:05. That's we've been tardy every day this week. Might as well run it back tomorrow morning. So we'll see you tomorrow, Thursday morning. Have a great day. Take that trash out to the curb. We'll see you tomorrow.